What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the new and improved setup. Thank you so much for being here. Today I just kind of wanted to talk about my own spiritual awakening story, and I've kind of gone over my spiritual awakening in bits and pieces on different podcasts and different videos that I've kind of done, or podcasts that I've been interviewed on, but I wanted to give you guys the real huge snapshot of what a spiritual awakening really looks like for somebody, and give you some tips on how to go about your spiritual awakening and things like that. So let's talk about how I got into all of this. How did I become psychic? How did I start seeing auras? All of the things, what happened, what did I go through, and hopefully it can help you on your own spiritual journey. When I was probably around 5 or 6 years old, I remember seeing auras and energy around actually one of my neighbors at the time, and I didn't know quite what was going on. So I remember going to my mom and being like, why am I seeing colors around people? What is this? And she was like, you're seeing auras or energy around people. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? I had no idea what that even meant. I didn't know what auras were. I didn't know what energy was, and I didn't really have any interest, to be honest. I don't know, exploring it at the time. Obviously I was a kid, so duh. I remember asking her if she had any books or anything, or any pictures, and she had this aura book where she showed me basically what I was seeing with my physical eyes around people was their energy field or their aura, and she was showing me these books that had pictures of different types of auras and things like that. And obviously I wasn't seeing the aura in the way that the book was portraying exactly, because the book was a very advanced copy of somebody who had been seeing and researching auras for their entire life. So it had lightning bolts and crazy imagery in the energy field, which I actually can now see today. But back then I was just kind of seeing the outline of a person and colors around them, and originally thought that something could be wrong with my eyesight. So I remember going to the doctor. I did have glasses, but I could still see auras with my glasses on. So that was something that kind of made me realize this is a real thing. Even as a kid, I was kind of aware of this ability. I just didn't know what to do with it. So went about school. I had a very normal childhood, playing outside with friends, going to school, hating school. I was a really sick kid, just in and out of, different types of illnesses kind of early on, but nothing that was keeping me bedridden or anything. I definitely had trips to the hospital for things and infections, whatever, but nothing that I would consider a chronic illness until I was around 12 years old. That is when things took a really crazy turn for me. So I remember being out, and this is before I'm diving into any spiritual topics. My family's very spiritual. We have crystals around. I grew up around spirituality and open communication about spiritual stuff, but nothing to the point where I was I want to know all about this or anything like that. Until I got very sick. It all kind of started when I was actually out with my grandma, and we were at this, I cannot for the life of me remember this guy's name, but we were out seeing this really famous trumpet player, musician in Chicago. Super nice seats. We were up on a balcony, and I remember halfway through the performance starting to feel really ill, needing to throw up. And I remember pulling on her shirt and being I have to throw up, and she was okay. She was a nurse at one point, so she was used to it. So we go to the bathroom, I'm over the toilet, I'm not able to actually throw up. We go back to the seat. I start getting this insane head pain that I've never experienced before, and then I actually have to get up and run out to the bathroom, and I'm vomiting, and I've got this crazy head pain, and we're in this place with loud music, there's people all around us. I'm this 12-year-old kid. I'm overstimulated by all the lights. The music was so loud there was, I mean, it was just like the worst environment to be in to get your first migraine. So that was what was happening to me. I experienced my first ever migraine. And if you haven't ever experienced a migraine before, think of the worst headache that you've ever had, or the worst hangover you've ever had, and multiply it by like 1,000. Okay, so you're getting this pain in your head that is like usually sharp stabbing. I would get mine around my eyes, sharp stabbing, shooting pain. And usually what accompanies it is sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound. I'm out at a concert, like not a great place to be. Nausea, vomiting. You know, most people that get migraines will have to like lay in their bed for like 12 hours for it to go away, or just a couple hours. There was no medicine, so I'm at this musical show and I am in so much pain. I think it was actually my mom and my sister came and met us out in Chicago, picked us up, and I am in the back just so sick, vomiting. Like it was a really terrible introduction to what a migraine actually is. And that was the beginning of a 7 to 8 year period of me consistently getting those types of migraines almost daily. This is kind of hard for me to talk about, actually. I really started to understand the situation after my first couple of migraines, and I was like, these are lasting days. I would be in bed, unable to communicate, unable to feed myself, unable to get up for most of the time. Like I'd have to get up and go to the bathroom. I'd be like holding my head. And again, I'm like 12, 13 at this age, age, same thing. So I had never dealt with anything like this before, and I entered a period of time where I was in middle school and I suddenly am missing classes. I loved school to a degree. Like I really loved learning about science and chemistry, and I was really good at math, and I loved writing. So like I really enjoyed going to school and getting to like interact with teachers and stuff like that. Obviously it's school, like nobody loves it, but I did enjoy learning and being around my friends. And so when I started to have migraines, it was something that completely removed me from people. And that is the first sign of a spiritual awakening, is isolation. Okay, so when you're going through your first ever spiritual awakening, it will be probably one of the loneliest times of your life. And this is, I feel like, on purpose, so we can reconnect to ourselves and really build like what I call the foundation of self, and this trust in ourselves so we can move forward in a completely different way than we ever have before. I began this period of isolation that was extremely difficult. I'm 13 years old or 12 years old in middle school, and suddenly I'm missing classes. I can't go out to basketball games. I'm completely removed from my friends. People aren't wanting to like hang out with me because they don't know what's going on, and I sank into the deepest depression of my entire life as a kid, and became so isolated and so depressed that I literally didn't have anything outside of my family to lean on. And that is how I discovered spirituality, energy, chakras, auras, meditation, all of these things, because I was thrown into such an isolating period that I honestly believe that I started to like basically get into researching all of these different topics because I was convinced that my ability to see auras was causing me to have migraines. So I started to completely resent my gifts. I started to, I really thought that like I was getting these chronic migraines, I was in this pain, all this stuff because I was able to see energy. So I shut my abilities down to a degree. I mean, as much as I could at the time, because I didn't really understand how to do that yet. But I shut my abilities down so much, and I started to resent them so much because I thought that the reason for the migraines was the ability to see auras. That something was wrong with me to the point where I was seeing energy, so it must be the cause of this pain. On this sort of awakening journey, these first couple of years of it, I was thrown into physical health problems that started to escalate. So I went from having chronic migraines once a week, a couple times a week, to literally every single day, to the point where, again, like I was saying, like I was in bed, spending a lot of time by myself, missing a lot of school, and going to doctor appointments and getting told that like there was nothing they could do. Basically, nobody could figure out what was actually wrong with me, and so I just started to take a bunch of prescription medication, and I also ended up seeing like a psychologist because the depression from getting migraines was like so astronomical that, and it was like not normal for a 12 or 13-year-old, 14-year-old to be feeling so incredibly depressed. But I was in so much pain, I was isolated, I was removed from people outside of my family, and I wasn't able to get any answers from these doctors and professionals and specialists. I literally went to neurologists, headache specialists. I mean, I did so many MRIs, so many CT scans, and I was just so frustrated at that point. There was no answer for anything that was going on with me. So then I started to internalize a lot of things because I was thinking, is this pain actually real? Am I making this up? What is going on? Like, why can't any of these people that have gone to medical school tell me why I'm getting these things and how to stop it? Like, it was so crazy and such a, like, I don't know, such a, I don't want to say humbling experience, but it was like, it was unlike anything I've ever obviously gone through, because you know, I'm experiencing this pain that's extremely real to me, to the point where I'm debilitated for weeks, days on end. I'm only sleeping, getting up, eating, you know, going to the bathroom, and then getting back into bed and going to sleep. I did have hours where I was functional. There would be days where I wouldn't have a migraine, or I would have a migraine that was a low enough pain level that I could go to school and function, but then I was risking having that pain increase while I'm at school, so I'd be pulled out of school a lot because I would get a migraine while I was there. It was just this like terrible cycle. I then started to go into the hospital quite a bit, and I was hospitalized several times for like different things. Sometimes it was migraines, sometimes it was, you know, other infections or whatever. Like, my immune system just took a complete hit during this time period. So if I wasn't hospitalized for a migraine, I was hospitalized for a throat infection or a skin thing, or, you know, whatever was going on at that time. And this was like years of this, in and out of the hospital, fighting these things as a teenager, and not really getting to like fully experience what it was like to go to high school or drive when I was 16. Like, I think I waited until I was around 18 years old to get my license. So a lot of things for me were really delayed because of this experience, which also, I think, ultimately, I do think this experience made me really resilient and made me able to hold space for people that have gone through some really intense things, because of I went through something extremely intense for so long that now doing this work that I'm doing, I'm really able to like connect with people and actually empathize with them because I've been through similar things. So during that time, I didn't know, obviously I was miserable, but I really was being set up to hold space for myself and for other people that have experienced like really traumatic medical things or just life things in general, periods of isolation, stuff like that. During this time when I'm really isolated from, you know, friends at school, people don't really know what's going on. We're all kids. I'm not expecting people to like get it or understand the situation that I was put in, because I didn't really even understand what was going on either. But I was really feeling like I was drowning, like alone. And I found spirituality as a way to kind of not escape, but to explain and to kind of entertain myself while I was feeling so terrible, because I didn't really have anything. This was kind of before like social media. You know, we had what did we have? We had like AOL and I don't know, like, I don't really know what we had. But anyway, it was before social media really, so it wasn't like I was spending hours on TikTok scrolling or on YouTube watching videos. I was very much like, I had books and I had myself and I had some things on the internet, but like finding spiritual topics lit something up in me. And I knew that auras were real because I could see them. So I started to see, like, were there other people that could see auras? Were there people that understood what this was? Why was I chosen to like see energy? What could I do with this eventually? And like, can this cause migraines? So the migraines that I used to get, I never had the aura with them. So the aura with a migraine is when you would like kind of lose your vision a little bit or have some sort of visual effect happen that would warn you that you were about to get a migraine. I didn't have any of those. I would wake up with a migraine or I'd have one come on throughout the day, either slowly or all at once. Distinguishing that from what I was experiencing helped me realize like they're probably not connected. And even though I'm like resenting this gift as I'm going through high school, I did have this feeling like I was going to be able to do something with it if I could survive this, basically. I don't really want to talk about the really intense mental health stuff that I went through. Maybe in another video I will, but I really struggled. I was in pain every day. I was depressed. I had given up. I really had. And I had gone several years like kind of in this like isolation period and researching spirituality, tarot, things like that. And I did end up getting my first oracle card deck. It's right here actually. From, I think my mom gifted it to me because I really dove into books. I dove into tarot. I was researching on this one specific website where this woman put up basically an archive of different links of different spiritual things. So I started to research crystals. I started to look into, again, like chakras, meditation, remote viewing, astral projection, any sort of like big buzzword spiritual topic. I was researching it. I was up when I wouldn't have like a migraine, I would be up researching spiritual topics or diving into things. The first big part of my spiritual awakening was when I realized I wasn't crazy. This is a documented thing, and there are all of these other things that I hadn't dove into yet that got me like excited to explore spirituality and dive into that and the different belief systems from like all over. So that's what I did. That kind of opened me up to this world of spirituality, along with my mom had this little like she had this like these shelves in our spare room that just were full of books on manifestation, energy, auras, meditation, attracting like money and blah, 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 like all those things, how to like understand spirituality, how to understand yourself, all of these books in there, how to talk with angels, how to work with your guides, things like that that were now looking back kind of ahead of this new age movement. So I would spend hours, and I mean like really a long time, looking through these shelves, looking through these books and trying to like understand what was happening to me. When I did start to kind of find that I wanted to start working with angels, I'm still sick, you know, at this point. I was on different medications, so there were times when I would have periods where I would go without migraines and then I'd have a bad bout of them, and just kind of like chugging along and also leaning on spirituality during this time. So my first deck was the Ask Your Guides, or I'm sorry, it's the Trust Your Vibes deck by Sonia Choquette, but the book is called Ask Your Guides, and it comes with, it's like a partner to this like oracle card deck, and I would pull cards for everything. Nothing was going on in my life because I was sick, so like there wasn't really anything happening for me to be pulling cards with, but I was really pushed during this time to expand into doing more of the spiritual stuff. So I started doing card readings for friends. I started doing card readings for myself. I got my first tarot deck, which is the Shadowscapes Tarot, that is totally destroyed my original version, but I do have a second version that I got. But the Shadowscapes Tarot really introduced me to the ability to tap into divination for myself and for others, and also as a way to like connect with my guides and understand that I was being supported by spirit. Even though I couldn't see them, I did start to be able to like feel the presence of angels and all of this stuff. This brings me to my next part of somebody's spiritual awakening. I know I'm talking a lot about this, but there's a lot that I kind of wanted to include just so you guys were able to get like a full experience of what was actually happening to me when I was going through this huge awakening. And the second biggest tip for your spiritual awakening or sign of a spiritual awakening is not being able to fully connect with like the people that are around you. And I guess that kind of goes with number one, which was the isolation, but feeling like mundane conversations and things like that aren't really doing it for you anymore, and wanting to be able to explore more spiritual topics. So with this, what I want to say is find a community or a mentor. Go to your local crystal shop and start asking them 1,000 questions about anything, everything, whatever you want. You still need to be skeptical and use discernment when you're going about your spiritual journey. That's one thing that is really important, because there's so much information out there now that you need to be able to tell what is actually in alignment with you and not harmful to other groups of people, things like that. Don't believe everything someone tells you, not even me if it doesn't resonate with you, but make sure you're finding people that you're able to like talk to about this. A lot of people have gone through big spiritual awakenings already throughout their lives and have a lot of knowledge that they can share and help to guide you with, but you have to be able to know where to find these people and how to, I don't know, how to kind of start engaging with them, basically, because that's what I did. When I started my spiritual journey and I was getting into crystals and oracle cards and all of those things, I started going to this local crystal shop. I went there one day with my friend Megan and John, and we were like, let's go get our chakras cleansed, like let's go do it, blah, 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 let's check it out. And I walked in and I immediately was like, these are my people. These are my people. I found them. They're here. Oh my God, this is amazing. And the first reading I ever got was from my dear mentor, Delilah, who's since passed away. But she gave me a reading and she was like, you're gonna be doing this work one day. And this is before I've even done like a professional reading. This is before I discovered I could do aura readings and drawings for people. This was before everything. This was like the pinnacle moment of like, I can do this? I can do this for people? Like, what do you mean? And I remember getting that reading and she would talk about me like I had already done the work, or I was doing the work already, and I didn't realize that I was. I was going through this transformative process that, looking back, really shaped who I became as a psychic intuitive and an aura reader. And I'll love her forever for having that faith in me before I even knew I was gonna be in this work. I remember looking at her and being like, you are crazy, lady. Like, I'm not gonna be doing any of this. I can barely function right now, like da-da-da-da, all this stuff. The fact that she knew obviously made it even better when she was really this person I was going to. She was my mentor for years, and she knew I'd be doing this work before I even started or had the inkling of an idea. I began going to this crystal shop with all these different people, Reiki people, crystal people, people that were really good at remote viewing, working with their guides, things like that. And I asked so many questions that I'm sure that I was so annoying, but I just had never had other people that I could talk to about these experiences that I was having. And it was also really nice to just, even though they weren't my friends at that point, knowing that I was connecting with them on a level that I hadn't been able to connect with anybody else on was really amazing. I mean, I appreciated that forever. They were incredible people, and I have to stop my camera because it's overheating.